Good evening, everyone. Okay, that's good. That's good. So when you are preparing for GRE, or even when you are probably thinking of going abroad, or even when you are thinking of doing a MS or PhD, probably the first question that comes to your mind is, what is a good GRE score, right? You probably have this question. I mean, when I was preparing for GRE, that was my number one question. What should I get? What is a good GRE score? So I think that is a very common question that all of you should be thinking about anyway, right? So now the reason why I have put the word good in quotes is that it's very, very subjective. What is a good score for me can be a good score for may not be a good score for somebody else, or a score that will work for you may not work for me. So the word good is very subjective. So whenever you ask this question, what is a good GRE score, or what do I need to get admission in XYZ university, so those are very those are questions to which there are no fixed answers unless we have some other information. Just let me elaborate on that. Fine. Okay, having said that, let's now proceed. So let's go back to the question of what is a good GRE score. Now a very short answer to this question is that a GRE score that will give you admission in a college of your choice, for you that is a good GRE score. Now of course that score varies from profile to profile. What are the admissions criteria? Can anybody tell me? What are the admissions criteria? What do universities look at before deciding whether to give you admission or not? What are the admissions criteria? Okay, Raja Gopalan is saying resume. Okay, what is there in the resume? So just elaborate a bit. Harsh is saying overall profile. Okay, what do you mean by overall profile? So Raja Gopalan is saying CBC, SOP. Yes, SOP is one of the criteria. Sarang, yes, your academics is one criteria. Research experience, yes, very important. Again, Rajagopalan, achievements is very generic. Just be very specific. Okay, Gaurav is saying LOR, letter of recommendation. Yes. What else? What else? So you are missing one of the important ones. Yes, GRE score, obviously. Yes, that is the whole objective of the webinar anyway. So standardized test, you are an international student. I am assuming that all of you are Indian passport holders. So for you will need a language test, TOEFL or IELTS, you will need one of those. So these two exams are called standardized tests. Why? Because they are standardized. Whether you take the exam in India or in Nepal or in UAE or in or somewhere in Africa, the score will be the same, because that's why it's called a standardized test. So these two exam scores are called standardized tests. It's one of the important criteria. Then academic record, somebody said CGPA. Yes, so academic record, anything starting with your after your class 12. Nobody cares what marks you have got in your class 11, 10, 12. So after class 12, so bachelor's degree and beyond. So and then there is work experience, internships, whatever you like to call them. Extracurricular activities, not that important, but still, then personal documents, that's where the SOP LORs are. And then research work. So this when you talk about the overall profile, this is your overall profile, right? Personal documents mean there are two types of personal documents that you will be submitting. One is called SOP and one is called LOR. So these are the headings of the admissions criteria. Now today we'll be talking mainly about this part, right? So that was the significance of the GRE score, right? What do you need? Now reason the GRE score is so important is because this is the only standardized component in the entire list. Academic record may vary from university to university, may vary from college to college. Work experience or your internship, it will vary from company to company, or you may have it or you may not have it. So it's not one fixed thing. Extracurricular activities again is very, very subjective. SOP and LO are even more difficult to compare. Research work, again, research work for somebody applying for computer science versus somebody applying for biology and all, it is different, right? So so none of these parameters are standardized. So for instance, I cannot say that okay, your project is better than your project. I can't say that, because two projects can be can be very different and cannot be compared at all. It's like you cannot compare an apple with a mango, right? You may like the apple because you like the taste of apple, you may also like mango because you like the taste of mango. It's difficult to say which one is better, right? If I say I like mango better, my friend might say that I like apple better, so that means it's subjective. But if I'm comparing a GRE score of 300 versus a GRE score of 310, I will say 310 is higher than 300, and my friend will also say 310 is higher than 300. So there is no subjectivity there at all, because it's a number, it's a standardized test, right? The same does not apply for academics. If says you have a 60% from Pune University and somebody has an 80% from let's say Andhra University, so I cannot say that, oh well, the 80% is better than the 60%, because the whole university thing comes into play, right? Maybe with an 80% in Andhra University you are not even in top 10%, but maybe with 60% in Pune University you are in like top 5%. So the only thing that is directly comparable is your GRE score, hence the significance of it, right? Another thing is that if your academic record is not as good as you would like it to be, you can make up for it by getting a good GRE score. Both of these things are combined, are looked at as one component. Moreover, your GRE score will be the most recent one. You can also take GRE multiple times and send your best score, so which you cannot do with your academic record. Whatever your academic record is, it is there, you can't change it too much. But GRE score, if in your first attempt you do not get a score of your choice, you can always take it again, so that's the advantage. So that's why the GRE score is so very important. Moreover, with the GRE score, as I said, with a lot of universities, GRE score happens to be the first level of elimination, right? So if let's say you are applying for computer science in Purdue University, Masters of Computer Science, you are applying for in Purdue University, let's say, and there are, let's say, 100 applications from India. Now to compare, to choose which ones to take, they would first compare the GRE scores of these 100 students from India. They will of course not compare you directly with an American or a Nepali or a Bangladeshi student, but the first level of competition is always Indians. That is your applicant pool. Your country is your first applicant pool. So the best students from India would be taken, the best students of some other country would be taken, obviously, purely because universities like to have a diversity in their classrooms. So and as that Indians score very high on their GREs. So we score higher than most nationalities, right? So you may very often see that your friend maybe with her 320 did not get admission, but somebody from Africa maybe got admission in the same university for the same program with 300, so that may happen, right? So GRE score, what will get you admission in a particular university, it depends on a lot of factors, right? So before I proceed, any questions till now? Any questions? Yes, no? Everybody can still hear me? Am I still audible? Okay, no questions. Okay, then let's move on. Okay, so now what you would be glad to know is that most schools do not have a GRE cutoff. So they don't have GRE cutoff scores, right? So it's not like India. If you apply for a master's program, you have to take for engineering students, at least you have to take the GATE exam, right? And for GATE there are cutoff scores. The IITs would need some 98, 99 percentile. The NITs will probably be okay with a 90, 95 percentile. So there is a cutoff score there in India if you want to do a master's program. But in the US, whether it's master's or PhD, the universities do not have a cutoff GRE score. Why? Remember, the admissions criteria is a list of so many things. So they are not going to reject you based on only one thing. So that's why there is no cutoff GRE scores. Having said that, there are some guidelines. There are some ground rules that if you are applying for science and engineering related programs. So for example, if you are applying for biological science also, that also comes under science, by the way, right? If you are applying for computer science, mechanical engineering, MIS, if you are maybe applying for PhD in math or PhD in physics, or any kind of science and engineering related programs, you would need to score high, in the math section if you want to, get into like top 50, top 60 university, right? So all of you know that in the math section is out of 170. So just to be on the safer side, you should have a 158 plus score. Now 158 plus score is very, very easy for engineers to get. So my recommendation is to try to get a 170. It is very, very doable, extremely doable for Indian students to get a 170 out of 170 in the math section. And if you are applying for math, science, engineering related programs, the math section is given higher, higher weightage. So yes, engineering includes computer science, obviously it does, right? So get the maths the segment of the GRE is given higher importance when you are applying for these science, math and engineering related programs. So when you are preparing for your GRE, instead of spending like 90% of your time in the verbal section, I would recommend that you try to get this 170 in the math section first. So I'll just give an example here. So if there are two students, let's say, student A and B, and both of them have taken the GRE, and one of them has a verbal score of, let's say, verbal is also out of 170 by the way. So let's say somebody has a verbal score of 140, and 165, in math, let's say, and student B has a 165 in verbal, and 140 in math, right? So what is the total score of student A? Can you tell me what is the total score of student A? Right? 305, and B is also 305. But these two scores, so A's score is not equivalent to B. So very often when students say, oh, if you get a 320, you will get an admission in good college. So that is not the correct interpretation. The focus is not on the overall score. It's not only on the overall score. So in this case, A's 305 and B's 305 are not equivalent. If they are applying for engineering programs, so A will get into a far better university than B. B will probably not even get admission in a top 100 university. If they are applying for any engineering, science, or engineering and science program, if A and B, both of them are applying for masters in computer science, or if both of them are applying for masters in physics, or anything related to science and engineering, then A still has a chance of getting admission in a top 50-60 program. B will not get admission in a top 100 program, that's for sure. So this is what you need to know. A lot of students don't know it, and hence they ignore it. They they focus all their preparation time on verbal, and they don't try to get the 170 or 165 in the math section. So now that you are in the beginning, beginning of your preparation. Some of you have just started, so from the beginning itself, please make sure that you are giving equal amount of time to your math and verbal. Math, please try to get as high a score as possible. Try to get 170. It is very doable. Okay, so so everybody understood this, right? Why you know A's 305 is not equivalent to B's 305 if they are applying for science and engineering programs. Everybody understood that part, right? Okay, so whenever you go to these forums, or whenever you're talking to your friends, they will say, oh, my friend had a 320 and got rejection, but you know, my brother had a 310 and got you know, admitted in the same university. Well, you know, maybe the person who got rejection with a 320, maybe his math score was lower, right? So keep that in mind. Okay, by the way, you know, even though you know GRE cutoffs are not there for most universities, they have a cutoff for AWA section, right? So the AWA section 4 is what the top 50 universities would expect. You know, if your AWA score is less than 3.5, then it will be extremely difficult for you to get admission in any top 100 university. So keep that in mind. So do not ignore your AWA. Some of you may have already completed your GRE preparation, and if you have not started your writing AWA essays yet, so you may be in trouble. Everybody knows about the AWA section? Yes? You have to write 2 essays. And what are those 2 essays? Can anybody tell me? You have to write 2 essays. What are the 2 essays? Yes, issue and argument. One essay is called issue, the other essay is called argument. For each essay you have got 30 minutes, and you have to the AWA section is scored on a scale of 0 to 6 with 0.5 increment. That means, I mean, you can get 0.5, 1, 1.5 like that, right? So it's easy to get a 3.54 if you practice. The argument essay is still easier to do, you know, but issue essay is the essay where a lot of our students struggle. You know, so have a word with your faculty. You know, we have some shortcuts, we have some methods, we have some, you know, we have a guide kind of thing to help you get at least a 4 in your AWA. So do spend time with your faculty. Do not ignore, right? You may have a 330, but if your AWA score is just 3 out of 6, you know, then you will not be eligible to apply to a lot of the top 100 universities. So do not ignore your AWA section. Moreover, the AWA exam starts with the AWA section, so you are pretty calm, and you know, at that point of time, so you can actually, if you practice now, you know, you should be able to get a 4 out of 6 pretty confidently. If not 4, at least 3.5 you will be able to get. So don't forget about this. For PhDs, you know, if you are applying for PhD, it's actually even more important. Anybody here who is applying for PhD? Right, so if you are applying for PhD, you know, as a PhD student, you will be expected to write a thesis later on, right? So, so you need to write a good AWA. You need to target a 4 in your AWA, at least a 4. So, Parv, your question is 4 is the cutoff for both the AWA separately. No, Parv, the AWA score that you get is for both the essays combined. So you will never know what score you got in each essay, right? So the GRE, when they give you the result, when they give you the marks of your AWA, so they look at both the essays and they give you a score, combined score for both the essays. So you will never know what you got for each essay. Okay, Parv, does that answer your question? Can you hear me? Okay, great. Now remember, GRE is just one of the parameters, right? So I will keep switching between slides. So if you remember this slide, it's just one of the parameters. It's not like the parameter. It's not the only thing. Very often I see students, you know, who spend so much time on their GRE preparation that they miss university deadlines. Right? So remember why you are preparing for GRE. Your objective is not to give the GRE, is it? Is your objective to give the exam? It is not. Your objective is to get admission in a university. So you have to apply to universities. You have to have the rest of your application material also done. So keep an eye on the deadlines of the universities. Don't invest so much time on your GRE preparation that you miss the deadline. Don't lose sight of the bigger picture. Don't forget the reason why you are preparing for GRE. Now it sounds silly now, but every year we face such situations. Students come to us, in January or February, and they have like really good GRE scores, but by that time all the university deadlines are over. So if you have to take your GRE, if you have to apply for the fall of 2018, if you want to join a university in the August-September session of 2018, then it's best you will have all the university options open to you. You will have all the university deadlines available to you. If you take your GRE, TOEFL, etc., latest by November, by November 15, November 20, if you take your GRE, TOEFL, etc., then you can apply to any university that you want to apply to. All the deadlines will be available. So don't delay your GRE exams. And so I remember one of you have booked your date for September. So that's great. Actually, you are like well ahead, of your well ahead of your competition, which is really good. So once you're done with your GRE, take TOEFL within 2 weeks. Then send in your application by end of September. I don't know whether you guys know or not, but when you apply for MS and PhD programs, which is true for both MS and PhD, irrespective of the university deadline, admission offers are given on a first come first served basis. So if you want to increase your chances of admission, and if you are interested in scholarship, if you want to increase your chances of getting scholarships, please apply as early as possible. You are going to improve your chances of getting both admission and scholarship, if you apply soon. So the sooner you apply, the better are your chances. The online applications of most universities will become available from September. A lot of them will become available from mid-August also. So the competition has already started for the August 2018 intake. The competition has already started. We already have students who have taken the exams and have the GRE score. So they will send in the applications by end of August, right? So you should if you have not booked your GRE date, or if you have not made a decision about taking the GRE, so I would say just hurry up. Don't forget that universities give admissions on a first come first served basis. Like if your application is good enough, they are not going to wait till the end and then for PhDs, at least the seats get filled very soon. So try to send in your applications latest by mid-December. If you're not able to send in your applications by beginning or middle of December, then you will probably not get admission. So PhDs, it's even tougher. So I saw that some of you mentioned that. So Sandeep, Bhumika, I think you guys are applying for PhD. So if you want to apply for PhDs, and then December first week should be the deadline by which you should send in your applications, irrespective of what the application deadlines of the universities are. The seats are so few for PhD that they will get filled very soon. And Indian students apply for PhDs, a lot of Indian students apply for PhD for two reasons. Number one, it's a fully funded program. You will get 100% scholarship. That's one reason. Second reason why a lot of Indian students apply for PhD programs is that that it is all this the visa, work visa, etc. is like it's like automatic for PhD applicants. They are exempt from all the cutoffs and everything. So PhD is a very in-demand program among Indian applicants. So if you are applying for PhD, take your GRE soon. Do not delay your applications. Just apply as soon as possible. Right. So when you send in your applications, you have to have the GRE score. Without the GRE score, you cannot actually submit an application. So you will need the GRE score, right? Okay. So So as I said, remember that GRE is just one of the parameters. While you are preparing for GRE, you should obviously have a target GRE score, and once you hit that, you should just take the exam and move on. Don't spend like 7-8 months of your life preparing for GRE. GRE preparation should not be done more for maximum 5 months, not more than that. If you can get done with your GRE preparation in 4 months, that's best, right? Okay, moving on. What you need to remember is that a good score is not a guarantee of admission. You may get a 340 out of 340 and still get a rejection. However, so a very bad score will surely keep you out. Why? Because Indian students score very high, and your first level of competition is going to be Indian students. So if you have a very bad GRE score, if you are like less than 300, so if you have a less than 300 and you are applying to a top 50 university, so I would recommend that just retake the GRE and try to get more than 300 at least. Why? Because all the other Indian applicants will have higher scores. So a good GRE score is not a guarantee of admission. However, a very bad score will surely keep you out. Remember, the only standardized thing. So if a university is getting like 50 applications from Indians, and everybody has got a 305, 310, and you have got a 290, so they're not going to take you, right? So keep that in mind. Any questions? Yes, Ayush, October is fine. As I said, just try to send in your applications. If you can send in your application by November, December, that's like the best time. Right. Anybody has any questions? I'll pause for a minute so that you can type your questions if any. So Anmol's question is, isn't the early bird admission for rolling admissions? No, that is a misconception. There are universities which have rolling admissions. For them, of course, the early bird is there. But even for universities with specific deadlines, so the seats keep getting filled. Unlike for MBA or undergrad, for MS and PhD, it's it's irrespective of the deadline, it's a rolling. Only difference is that universities which say rolling admission, so there you can apply in May and June also, and if they like your application, they would say, oh, okay, we are not able to give you admission for August 2018, but we will be able to give you admission for August 2019. That is the difference between rolling admissions and the fixed deadline thing. Otherwise, in terms of how the admission offers are made, there is no difference. Raja Gopalan, your question is, for European countries the application starts next year only. Is that no? You see, European country, when you say European countries, that's a huge thing. If you are looking for at Germany, or if you are looking at UK, so their applications they follow almost the same cycle as the US universities, right? Sakshi, your question is, I am studying in the 3rd year as of now, so when should I ideally give GRE, since I need to wait in India to complete my BA? Oh, great! Actually, you have done a very smart thing by preparing for your thinking about GRE right now, because you should actually take your GRE as soon as possible. Then in the final year, you can just work on building your profile. Remember, the whole research segment of the admissions criteria, you can work on that. So you should prepare for GRE and take the exam whenever, anytime after class 12. That's what I said. The reason is that in your final year, you will be busy with your campus placements, you will be busy with your internships, projects, this and that. So take your GRE anytime after class 12 is good. SRR, your question is there a GPA cutoff for universities? No, there cannot be any GPA cutoff for US universities, purely because the different Indian universities have different types of grading scales. So US and Canadian universities, they do not have GPA cutoffs, but if you are applying for European universities, they have cutoffs. They have usually in Germany, for instance, 70-75% is what you need on your bachelor's degree, right? Monica, your question is decent score in verbal for engineering graduates. Again, decent is depends on what you are applying, what program you are applying for. See, if you have a 170 in your maths, if you can manage to get a 150, then you get a 320. 320 is a good score. With a 320, you can, yeah, I mean, you can apply to good universities, right? So if you target the 370 in the math section first, then in verbal, I have seen engineering students, you know, get 150, 155, even up to 160 also, by the way, right? So 145 plus, you know, if you get, so overall, if you have a anything between over 315, then if your rest of the profile is decent, you can definitely apply to top universities. Sufia, your question is, if we are planning to give exam in October, what can be the deadline for applying to the universities? Sufia, if you are taking your exam in October, see, the universities, they have their deadlines. Some of them have deadlines by December 1, some have December 15th, some have December 31st. So the different universities have different deadlines. But as I said, don't wait for the deadlines to get first preference for admission and scholarship. The moment you are done with GRE, you know, in the next few days, you will definitely need a TOEFL exam. So in the next 2 weeks, you know, take the TOEFL exam and then send in your applications. So your target is that within 3 weeks of your 2 to 3 weeks of your GRE exam, you should be sending your applications to universities. Rohan, yes, if you apply by October, November, you still have chances of scholarships, right? That's perfectly fine. So Raja Gopalan, I think I already answered your question, you know. Okay, so moving on. Now, as I said, you know, what is a good score depends, first of all, you know, whether you are applying for MS or PhD. Let's say there is this university A, and in university A, let's say you want to apply for the Department of Computer Science. Apply in the Department of Computer Science. You know? Now in the Department of Computer Science, there are 2 students. One is applying for Masters and one is applying for PhD. Now this computer science department, if they plan to take 100 students for Masters, they would take, they usually will probably take around 6 to 7 PhD students. That's it. So the competition for PhD is far tougher, you know. So for the same university, for the same department, if depending on whether you want to apply for Masters or PhD, the GRE score requirement will vary, right? So you will need a higher GRE score, you know, for PhD. But again, PhD admissions, you know, the most significant, most important criteria is the research work part. If you have journal publications, or if you have conference publications, if you have international publications, then all of that will help you, you know, even if you have a reduced GRE score, you might be able to get admission. But in case you don't, then you would need a higher GRE score to get admission in a PhD program than a master's program. This is one thing. So this is one based on which even in the same university, within the same department, the GRE score requirements will change. Next thing which a lot of students don't know is the class size or the university size, you know. So a lot of people think that, okay, if I have to go to a higher ranked university, I will need, you know, higher GRE score. If I get a lower GRE score, then I can go only to lower rank. So GRE is not a, so just let me just clear this, you know, myth, you know, right here, that GRE score is not a factor of the university ranking, by the way. You know, it's not a factor of rank. More than university rank, it has to do with the class size or university size. So everybody knows University of Pennsylvania, right? It's an Ivy League college. Everybody knows Columbia. So that's again Ivy League college, you know. So they are and they are huge universities. They are very big class sizes. They are huge, right? So you can get admission in these colleges, in these colleges with a comparatively lower GRE score, and in a smaller class size university such as Purdue, let's say, you may get rejected, right? So just because somebody got admission into UPenn or University of Pennsylvania with a 320 but got rejected with 320 from Purdue, does not mean that Purdue is a better university or UPenn is a low ranked university. So very often the GRE score requirement of a university is more dependent on its class size than the quality or the ranking of the program. Definitely not ranking at all. Okay, so when you let's say when you get your GRE score, if you think that okay, I have got a 320, so if I can get admission in a college university ranked ranked 20, then I should definitely get admission in a university ranked 30. Now that need not be true. If the university that is ranked 30 is a smaller university with a smaller class size, then you may get rejected in the university ranked 30. So your chances of admission is not a factor of the rank of the university. Keep that in mind. So once you get your GRE scores, all of you will start like doing your university shortlisting, etc., etc. So don't get don't get confused that okay, I have got, so if I can get admission in a university rank 20, so why am I not able to get admission in a university rank 50? Well, maybe the university that is ranked 50 has a far smaller class size. It all boils down to competition. If universities take a lot of students, then you have a better chance of getting there. But if a university, irrespective of its rank, if it has only limited intake, then you will not get admission. So there are universities such as Purdue or University of Maryland, Maryland College Park, Wisconsin Madison. So these are extremely good programs. I have seen over the years, I have seen a lot of students who have got admission in colleges such as Columbia or UPenn, but have got rejected from these universities. Why? Because their classes are small. Okay, so so that's anybody has any questions on the first 2 points? So so Sarang, I would not use the Edulix website. First of all, it is not a website accredited by universities. So if you, for shortlisting purpose, there are two things that you can look at. One, to get a basic idea about the universities, that one website is recognized even by universities, the usnews.com website. Then to get information such as the class size, etc., Peterson's Guide. The Peterson's Guide is a website from where you can get information related to the class sizes and all. So these two websites combined, you will get enough information. Shanu, your question is, can we pursue MBA through GRE score? Yes, there are some MBA programs that accept GRE score. The list of the program is available on the GRE website. So Ayush, I think I already answered your question. So the resources that you can use is the usnews.com website and the Peterson's website. So there, US News, the website, you will get the rankings, university rankings. So you get information about the quality of the university. Then Peterson's website, you will get information regarding the class sizes. So both of these together, you should be able to take an educated call. So Saurabh, your question is, which is best university for masters in accounting and finance? So first of all, masters in accounting is a different program and masters in finance is a different program, right? So if you want to get the rankings, you can get it from usnews.com. So these are two different programs. Masters in accounting and masters in finance are two different programs. There is no program called masters in accounts and finance. Okay. So any questions on the first 2 points? Any questions on the first 2 points? Okay, no. Now again, then the course. Remember we talked about how within the same university, university A, depending on the whether you're applying for masters or PhD, the GRE score requirement would change. Similarly, let's say university A now, you have got program that is CS, there is mechanical maybe, then let's say industrial engineering, or maybe I don't know, maybe engineering management, right? So university A, there are these programs, and let's say somebody is applying for masters, right? So so if you're applying for masters in computer science, masters in mechanical, masters in industrial, masters in engineering management, depending on which program you're applying to, the GRE score requirement will be different. So usually the most competitive program is the computer science program. So computer science program would, or within the same university, computer science programs would require the highest GRE score for you to get admission. On the other hand, the lesser known programs such as, let's say, the industrial engineering program or engineering management program, now these are programs that most Indian students don't know about, and hence they don't apply, right? Therefore the number of applicants is very less. So in the same university, if you may get admission even with scholarship, maybe for industrial engineering and engineering management with a score of 315, and with the same score of 315 you will probably get rejected for computer science, right? So so depending on what program you are applying, within the same university, the GRE score requirement changes. So keep that in mind. So if you read in some blog or something that, okay, I got admission in Carnegie Mellon with 305, okay, depends on which program, right? So for computer science, definitely probably not. Maybe the person applied for some masters in social work, something like that. So depending on the program, the GRE requirement changes. So the most competitive program, especially for Indian applicants, just let me clean this up a bit, hang on. So the most competitive program for Indian applicants is computer science, followed by ECE, which is electrical and computer engineering, followed by electrical, right? Then EECS. So these three, electrical engineering and computer science, so EECS. So these are the most competitive programs. Computer science is like the most, absolutely the most competitive program. Most Indian students apply for this program, right? Then these three are like little bit the other programs like mechanical engineering, civil engineering, structural engineering, metallurgical engineering, material science, they are not that competitive, so the number of applicants are few, so you can get admission even in the top 20 universities, far lower GRE scores, right? So keep that in mind. So Rajagopalan, we talked about a lot of these course options in one of the earlier webinars. The recordings of all the webinars that we have done till now are available on our YouTube channel, so you can check out there. The next point, as I was telling, was a competition. Now in the US, there are some universities, for whatever reason, they are very popular among Indian applicants. So if a lot of Indians apply to these universities, then irrespective of the ranking of the university, you may get rejected. So as I said, the first level of comparison would be, the first level of elimination would be along with the rest of the Indian applicants. So you will be compared first with your Indian counterparts, with the Indian passport holders, right? So if there are a lot of Indian students that apply to a particular university, so there are some universities such as I said, Purdue, very popular among Indian masters applicants, or Ohio State, Arizona State, NCSU, so OSU, NCSU, So they are very popular for whatever reason. They are very popular among Indian applicants. So very often you will see that you will get rejected from these universities, even though they may be ranked lower, but you may get admission in some higher ranked universities such as University of Indiana Bloomington, or maybe University of Southern California, or some UC Riverside, etc., because they are not that popular among the Indian student community, right? In the Indian student community, how it works is that everybody talks to their college seniors, and wherever the college seniors have gone, they will apply to that university. So over a period of time, it has so happened that Indian students apply to a certain bunch of universities. They do not apply to some other, because probably they are not aware of those universities. So keep that in mind. So if you apply to universities where there is already a high Indian population, then your chances of getting admission goes down. Why? Because of competition. Only and only because of competition. So again, I see that a lot of you are typing questions even though I asked you not to. So anyway, Sarang, your question is, can you throw some light on M engineering versus MS? So we already covered that one in one of the webinars. Please look at the entire webinar series. It's available on our YouTube channel. Okay. Saurav, your question is doing MS in finance from Poland good? There are tricky question. If you want to ever, the global recognition will not be that good. Having said that, I don't want to say that you should not go to Poland. If you have some reasons for wanting to go to Poland, definitely go there. But there are no top universities in Poland. Anil, your question is it good idea to do MS after having 9 years of experience? Depends on your career goals. Why not? But if you have 9 years of work experience, then you should be applying for PhD and not a master's degree. I don't know whether you know it or not, but you don't have to do a master's degree to do a PhD in the US. So if you have a bachelor's degree, you have 9 years of work experience, you might want to apply directly for PhD and not a master's degree. So I recommend that for Anil, this is specifically for Anil. Anil, if you can send in your profile to this email ID, we can let you know whether you are eligible to apply for PhD or not, right? Akanksha, your question is, how does work experience of more than 5 years? See, again, what I'm trying to say is that depends on your career goals. If you want to do a MS degree, do an MS degree. Just because you have 4 or 5 years of work experience does not mean that you have to do an MBA. Totally depends on your career goals. People do master's degrees after 5 years, after 6 years. People do MBA degrees also after 4 years, 5 years. Depends on your career goals. That's it. If you don't want to get into the management side and you want to stick to the technical side, then consider the probability of doing a PhD also. Ayush, your question is how to improve profile. Which thing should I include in my profile given I'm okay? So Ayush, your question is very, very generic. I don't know what your profile is, but I would like to answer that question. So please send an email at this email ID. Even if you don't have a CV, it's perfectly fine. In the body of the email itself, if you tell me a little bit about which college you are doing your computer science degree from, what are your grades till now, what projects you have done, what is your GRE score. If you can give me these information, then we'll be able to get back to you. Sarang, can we? No, you cannot. You cannot apply for different programs within the same department. In US you cannot. In UK and all, you can apply for different programs. Different. So let's say you want to apply to London School of Economics, you can apply to more than 2 programs. You can do that, but not in the US. Sandeep, your question is, if my work experience is kind of R&D work, would it be counted as research work? Yes, it will be counted. If it's R&D, it will be counted as research work for your PhD application. So Akanksha, you are saying that you have a bachelor's degree, then your work experience, you have got 5 years, and then you want to do a master's in a different field. So if it's a different field, then then maybe the PhD would be a difficult thing to get into. Then yes, you can do a master's. And it's only in India that we have this mindset that सारी पढ़ाई इकट्ठे करना है, you know, बैचलर्स डिग्री के बाद मास्टर्स करना है. Only in India we have that mindset. In the US, you know, people after bachelor's degree, they get some industry experience and then they decide to do a master's. It can be an MS degree, it can be a PhD degree, it can be an MBA degree also, but you know, you do not have to do your master's degree immediately after your bachelor's degree. It's only in India we have this mindset. So as sir, your question is for Canadian universities, do I require GRE score? Now, most universities you don't, but there are some programs where you may, you know, where it might be a little helpful to have the GRE score. So if you can, you know, send me a list of the universities and programs, and we can check and let you know. Okay, Monica, name some unpopular universities for CUS. Oh, I can't do that because they're like, that's a very funny question. I really don't understand the question also, actually, you know. So Anmol, your question is, what should be ideal GRE score for CS in top 20 to be on the safe side? I would say, given that assuming that your academics are not average, assuming that you do not have any significant research work, assuming under these two conditions, no, with these two assumptions, I would recommend that it will be you know, you can try to apply with a 320 or more. Sakshi, you know, on what GRE score can we expect a scholarship? Well, for scholarship, the GRE score is not the main criteria. For scholarship, is the main thing, the first thing, that the most important thing that universities look at is your research experience, the research profile, and not your GRE score. Combination of your research profile and academics is what universities consider for scholarship decisions. Sarang, your question is, does PhD completion leads to getting MS degree also? No. If you apply for a PhD degree, you get a PhD degree. You will not get a complementary master's degree. But why do you need a master's degree when you already have a PhD degree? So don't worry about that. Yes, even national paper publications are also good. So Monica, you are saying that good universities less known among Indian applicants. Okay, so like University of Washington at St. Louis, really good university, but not many students apply. Then there's University of Washington, Seattle itself, and University of Washington is extremely good for computer science, but students don't apply. Not many students apply. Then you have got, you know, Rutgers in New Jersey is a good university. University of California, Riverside. Students do not apply to the Riverside campus, but it is good for, you know, your computer science. Santa Clara University in California. So there are some such universities which are very good, excellent placements, great research, but you know, Indian students don't apply. Not that they don't apply, but very few Indian students apply. Okay, so we are almost out of town, almost out of time, my bad. So we are almost out of time. So if you have any further questions, you know, please feel free to write this email information@jamboreeindia.com. Please feel free to write to this email ID. Also, as I said, the recordings of all our previous webinars are up on the on Jamboree's YouTube channel. So if you are subscribed to the channel, you will keep on getting updates. The recording of today's webinar will also be up latest by Wednesday on the same YouTube channel. So just keep an eye out. And so we do these webinars, you know, once in 2 weeks. So on 12th August. So on not 12th August, I think 19th August. So our next webinar will be on 19th August, same time, 5 p.m. So Raja Kapulan, the university deadlines that are on our website are for not all programs. It's there for computer science, electrical engineering, and mechanical engineering, I think. Sarang, you know, your question is, should we look for university or university location very close to industries? If you, I talked about this the last webinar, and I just would like to repeat it, that if you are getting admission in a top 20 university, it does not matter where it's located. You know, if you have to choose between a university that is ranked 30 and a university that's ranked 50, then you look at the location. Then you pick the university that is located close to industries. Okay, so that's about it.